So I had the chance to sit down, do a one-on-one interview with Nelson Mandela, actually 3 years before he became the president. He died in 2013, but I have to tell you that the morning that I met Nelson Mandela, it still is a highlight of my career, my one-on-one interview with Nelson Mandela. You said in 1964, there is no easy walk to freedom. Has that walk been more difficult than you envisioned in 1964?
Well, from the point of view of a broad perspective, we knew that we were heading for difficult times because we're dealing with a regime which had no sympathy whatsoever to our aspiration. But the precise manner in which those difficulties presented themselves was difficult for anybody to foresee. But I think we have been able to go through that experience.
I would imagine, and you correct me if I'm wrong, certainly looking at the personal sacrifices, the personal prices that you have paid in this walk to freedom, you've got to have a lot of emotions. I don't know if they are anger, bitterness.
Well, there were certainly moments when I was in prison when I felt angry about having been deprived of the opportunity to give protection and security to my beloved wife, especially when when the regime continued to persecute and to harass her. It is the duty of a man to protect his wife. I was not in a position to do so. I also was unable to see my children grow and to be able to help them to face problems and help them to shape their attitude towards life. I did feel angry at particular moments when something happened to focus my attention on the type of life they were living. But generally speaking, we used the opportunity of being in jail for the purpose of looking at ourselves from a distance and to try to rectify the mistakes which we had made and to plan ahead. That gave you very little time to brood over your situation. And I was also with men and women, with men of caliber, men of talent, and we were close together, and we shared experiences which made us forget about our actual situation.
Many African Americans have expressed concern that a post-apartheid South Africa would be similar to what happened to African Americans upon the abolishment of slavery in this country.
Well, I do not know if we should be worried about that possibility. What we must concentrate upon is that the South Africa that we are demanding and inviting everybody to help us build is the one that is thoroughly democratic and not only on the political level, but also where the wealth of the country is shared equally amongst all its people. The reason I think that there was this scenario to which you are referring at the end of the slavery, when slavery was abolished, is that people were simply thrown out into the streets. They themselves had the responsibility to look for jobs, to look for shelter, which was very difficult because at least whatever the difficulties were with their masters, they had shelter, they could eat, and which was not the case when slavery was abolished. We don't think that there'll be a similar scenario. On the contrary, what is likely to happen is that people will be assured of jobs, will in due course be assured, of housing, and will be assured of a new life where their dignity as human beings will be protected and where their aspirations will eventually be accommodated. So it's a different scenario.
I think one of the best things about digging some of these old shows out of the vault or the archives of the Lynn Hayes Freeland Show, and especially in this case because this show originally aired in 1991, is you look at how much has changed since then. You look at South Africa now, and you listen to the South Africa that Nelson Mandela described back then, before he became president. More from this interview coming up in just a minute when the Lynn Hayes Freeland Show continues. Stick around.